Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. My name is Tom, and I'm the young CEO and founder of a successful tech startup called Tech Trends. I started the company right out of college with a small investment from my parents. We've grown quickly over the past few years, and now have over 100 employees. Even though I'm the owner, I don't like to flaunt my position. I try to maintain a low profile and interact with employees at all levels. I want our culture to be humble and egalitarian. I think it promotes innovation and creativity when employees feel empowered and not micromanaged. Last week, I decided to spend a day shadowing one of our interns named Mark. Mark is a computer science major at a nearby university and was working part-time at Tech Trends as part of his senior year internship program. He had been with us for a few months and was eager to get some real-world experience before graduating. On the day I shadowed Mark, I dressed down in jeans, a hoodie, and baseball cap. I didn't want to attract attention or have people treat me differently because of my position. I packed a laptop bag and ventured out into the engineering department to find Mark's desk. Mark greeted me energetically, not realizing who I actually was. "Hey man, I'm Mark. You must be Tom from IT," he said. "That's right, I'm here to help you out with some troubleshooting today," I replied. Mark began explaining the new feature he was working on for our mobile app. It involved using machine learning to customize the interface for each user. I was impressed by his initiative and innovative thinking. I had studied computer science in college too and was able to provide some useful debugging tips as we reviewed his code. The morning flew by as we became absorbed in our work. Around noon, Karen, one of the engineering managers, stormed over to us, her face red with anger. "Just what do you think you're doing?" Karen shouted at Mark. "You don't have approval to work on this feature. Do you have any idea how much time and money you are wasting?" Mark stammered. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize." Karen cut him off. "This is completely unacceptable. Not only are you incompetent, you can't even follow simple protocols around here." I quickly intervened. "Excuse me, but I was the one who asked Mark to work on this. I think it could really enhance our product." Karen turned her fury on me. "How dare you undermine my authority?" she shouted. "Who do you even think you are?" "I'm Tom from IT," I replied calmly. "I was just trying to help." "Oh, you were just trying to help, were you?" Karen snarled. "It's idiots like you that throw everything into chaos around here. I've had it with rogue employees." Karen then called security on her cell phone. "We have 2 unauthorized men wasting company resources in the engineering department. Come escort them out immediately." I was shocked when 2 uniformed security guards suddenly showed up and grabbed me and Mark by the arms. "Wait, stop," I pleaded as they dragged us towards the exit. "I'm not who you think I am." But the guards ignored me as Karen stood smirking triumphantly. I couldn't believe what was happening. Finally, just as we approached the front doors, I yelled out, "Stop! I'm Tom, the CEO!" The guards instantly froze. Shock registered on their faces as they let go of my arms. Karen's smirk melted away, replaced by a look of horror as the color drained from her face. She realized who I was. "You're the CEO?" she stuttered in disbelief. "Yes, and you are relieved of your duties, effective immediately," I stated firmly. Karen's lip quivered as tears started forming in her eyes. "Please, you can't do this," she begged. "I've worked so hard to get to where I am. Don't take this away from me over one mistake." But I'd seen enough of her abusive management style for one day. "Your behavior has been completely unacceptable," I said. "Now please gather your things and security will escort you out." Karen broke down, sobbing uncontrollably as the guards led her away. Meanwhile, I put my hand on Mark's shoulder. "Come on, let's get some lunch. You've earned it." Mark was speechless and stunned by what had just transpired. As we walked to a cafe around the corner from the office, I explained to him who I really was and why I had decided to shadow him for the day. "You have a ton of potential," I told him. "Don't let what happened with Karen discourage you. She won't be managing anyone from now on." Mark finally cracked a smile. "I can't believe I was working side by side with the CEO all morning. I should have guessed something was up when you knew so much about our code." We both laughed. It felt good to reveal my true identity and establish a mentorship bond with Mark. I wished I had done this sooner. When we returned from lunch, word had spread rapidly about Karen's dismissal. Employees gathered in clusters, speaking in hushed, astonished tones about the dramatic confrontation. For many, it was the first time they learned that I had been the one posing as an IT worker. "Did you hear?" The CEO himself dressed up as a techie and busted Karen, I overheard one employee whisper. About time, too. She's been nasty for years. He sure pulled a fast one to finally get the proof, another replied. It was a bit uncomfortable being the center of gossip, but overall the mood in the office felt lighter, like a toxic cloud had been lifted. Over the next few weeks, our head of HR confirmed that employee morale and retention improved significantly with Karen gone. Her reign of bullying and intimidation was over. I learned some important lessons too. While I valued walking among our workers unrecognized, I realized the potential dangers of being unidentifiable to security teams. And I saw how my presence could empower employees who might normally feel too intimidated to share their innovative ideas openly. Mark and I meet regularly now for mentorship. His machine learning feature was a huge success after we officially rolled it out. He got promoted to senior engineer and helps nurture younger interns just as I tried to mentor him. As for me, I still make it a point to interact directly with employees at all levels, but I'm more upfront about my position these days. Turns out I can promote transparency and an egalitarian culture even as the CEO. I just need to make sure it's clear at the start that I'm the one signing the paychecks. The next one is a pro-revenge story. My significant other, SO, and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace, a seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old cane corso. We got her when we had been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks old at the time. She's a really good dog, and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty, and she'd come right back, even if there were distractions /people/dogs out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyway because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away if she pooped. Also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes. We kept a small step trash can outside specifically for her poop bags because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you'd tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had her poop bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. This lady and her kid moved into the ground floor unit in our building, 2 units down from us. No biggie. We ran into her one day carrying groceries, and my SO held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karen-ish, but was polite, and her kid, probably 10, 11 years old, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog. A little black and white fluffy thing. Super cute, but not trained very well. I don't know what kind of dog it was, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds because 1, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and 2, they were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 8 months at that point and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it was EM's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically said, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our own dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice, so if you could make sure to do that going forward, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbors in Unit Hash." She wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple of hours later, this lady is banging on my door and gets really angry with me. She insists that it couldn't have been her dog, and how dare I assume. I felt really bad, and I apologized immediately. I said I didn't mean to offend her, and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again, and stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book, enjoying the cool weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door, no one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup, because I love pups. And then it took a crap right off the patio, ran back home, and scratched the door to be let in. I saw her kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in and then close it again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog, and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about her kid neglecting to watch the dog, or come to check if it had pooped and pick up after it, and dropped the poop bag and the note on their patio right by the door, then went back to my reading. EM was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around. Then she stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there are no poop bags, trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault in hindsight. I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple of days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another photo an hour later of the poop still there, time-stamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people, who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly that they would give her a warning about it. And sure enough, this lady comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. Poo prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to fine someone for dog poop, they had to have proof that it was that specific tenant's dog's poop, and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken and time-stamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everyone who had a dog at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day, and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10-11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it. Or maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mom, that her mom stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is I am a single mom. My kid isn't my SO's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my SO, so yes, I do know how hard it is. And I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio. But we did notice our poop bags were depleting, and our trash can was filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where it could see our door and trash can but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see the kid walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm pissed, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I move the poop bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. The next morning I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see her kid standing there looking annoyed. I didn't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough to ask what he needed. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said, I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog and they aren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. The kid started demanding a poop bag, saying his mom told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me. Yes, I'm so terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead, I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, His mom is standing on my patio, also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off of my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My SO wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty child, I'm 24, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said no. I told her to get some herself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your own patio, not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog, and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out that she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course, it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again, leaving the poop in the grass off my patio. So once she was gone, I took another time-stamped picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kid stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags and my denying them, and emailed all of it to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio, and pulled out the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poops, as I'm sure any dog owners could tell the difference in poops of a 12 lb dog versus a 70 lb dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poop straight on her patio right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck and the lady and her kid were moving out. I'm pretty sure they were evicted, or at the very least urged to move before a formal eviction process was initiated. After talking to some of our other, much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They'd only lived in the complex for like 2-3 months before they made so many enemies they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly, I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. It's not my fault she was a lazy, entitled person who couldn't even be bothered to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's poop. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come idiot to me about it. The next one is an entitled people story. I am a firm believer in live and let live, as long as you are not inconveniencing others for no reason or doing something immoral. There has been a broken down truck on the road next to my house. It is literally blocking an entire lane of the road and facing the wrong direction. It has a trailer attached to it, which makes it an even bigger obstacle to see around. I have finally had enough, and yesterday I called the non-emergency number after I almost hit a kid on a bike who was weaving around the truck and trailer into traffic. About 40 minutes after I called, there was a knock on my front door. A gentleman I had never seen before told me that he owns the truck and trailer that broke down on the road. He said he needs access to electricity to fix his truck and wants to tap into the outside outlet on the side of my patio. I stood there for about 20-30 seconds just staring at him and his audacity. Finally, I replied, "No," and closed the door in his face. Then I let my German shepherds into the backyard who absolutely do not like strangers. I really wanted to look at him and say, "What the hell, dude? Are you offering to pay for the electricity? Of course not, because your issues should not result in me having to pay, in addition to already having been inconvenienced. Not to mention the momentary terror of almost hitting a kid with a car." The next one is an entitled people story. This happened at the food court in my local mall the other day, and it's weird how boundaries and basic social conventions seem not to apply to some people these days. So my wife and I go to the mall and decide, while browsing, that we're going to get some food. We go, my wife says she's not hungry, but I get a burger and fries and then start eating. Halfway through, my wife says she is, in fact, hungry, and she's going to steal some fries. Fair enough, I let her take some fries, and she eats them. A little while later, I've started on the burger, and my wife says she needs the bathroom and walks off, and I have some fries left on the side of my plate. I look down to use my phone as I get a DM from someone, and then I hear a rustling sound at the side of the plate. I look up, thinking my wife has come back and has decided that she wants more, and say, "Hey honey, guess you've made some extra room for more fries." And then spot that no, it's not my wife. There's some random woman, mid-30s, putting her hand in my plate, about to grab the fries. She laughs and says, "Wow, suddenly we're super acquainted, aren't we?" I laugh out of disbelief and say, "Excuse me, why are you trying to steal my food?" She acts offended and says, "Well, you let the other woman sitting by you steal some fries, and you clearly don't want these, so I thought I could have them." I explain that the other woman sitting by me was my wife, but she's just some random person who I don't know and doesn't have any right to my food as I hadn't invited her. She just rolls her eyes, snorts, lets go of my fries, and then walks off. I sit there for a second in disbelief that someone just tried that, and my wife comes back and asks what the woman storming away from my table wanted. I explained what just happened, and we both laughed as it was weird, inappropriate, and something that most people should probably have learned way earlier than someone who seemed to be in her 30s. "I'll just take this stranger's food without asking" is certainly an interesting take on things, but not one I agree with. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.